morning, everyone. Welcome to Staten Island Republican headquarters. We are honored to be joined today by our New York State Republican chairman, as well as our candidates and elected officials who represent us so valiantly every day at the city, state, and federal levels of government. We are here to talk about the ballot initiatives that are on the ballot in just the next couple weeks, and the reasons why they're so important to get the word out to tell our voters, don't vote for these. Vote no on these initiatives. These initiatives will have a fundamental change in the outcome of how people go to vote, and in many other aspects that our candidates and elected officials are going to be speaking on today. So first off, I would like to welcome to the podium from the furthest point in New York State down to the southern point in New York State, our chairman of the New York State Republican Party, Nick Langworthy.
Thank you so much, Chairman Reiner. It is so great to be back here on Staten Island, and today I am kicking off a tour for the New York State Republican Party, what we're calling our Just Say No tour, to inform voters about the dangers of the constitutional amendments on the ballot this November. Now, there's a lot of important elections here in New York City, and people are talking about them, but in many places in the state, they say this is an off year coming off the presidential election. You know, it's so important that we not only get out our vote for the front of the ballot, but then flip that ballot over to address these very important questions that are before the voters. And we're launching this effort in the name of election integrity and protecting the sanctity of our democracy. And I can't think of a better place to launch this effort than right here on Staten Island, because Staten Islanders are the most patriotic people in America. And it's the place, that's right. It is the place that so many of our uniformed service members call home, a place where people proudly display their American flags and salute our brave heroes and protect our country. And on 9/11, those freedoms were under attack, and it was sadly the place that suffered such a tremendous loss. Now, two of the ballot proposals that voters will be voting on in this election, they threaten our democracy and they defy common sense. Same-day voter registration and no excuse absentee voting are total recipes for disaster. Now, let me be clear. Our goal is to make it easy for people to vote, but hard for them to cheat. And that should be a universal objective, regardless of somebody's party affiliation. But what we've witnessed from Democrats is an attempt to totally undermine our electoral system and destroy the safeguards we have in place to protect free and fair elections. It's almost as if they're working with these initiatives this year to legalize rigged elections in New York. And they're hoping that you're not paying attention and that you won't maybe vote the back of that ballot. But we're asking you today to just say no. On those initiatives on the back of the ballot that involve our election laws, we have to defeat those. These two measures would be like rolling out the red carpet for voter fraud. Same-day voter registration would create utter chaos at our polling places. Elections workers are already overburdened. You know, they're compensated, but really it's hard to find people to work our polling places. They will have no time or mechanism to verify someone's identity. You can walk into any polling location, register to vote on the spot, and vote without showing any identification or being who you say that you are. You can't set foot in a restaurant in this city without showing your vaccine card and photo identification. You can't buy a case of beer without showing your photo identification. But somehow, the fact that Republicans suggest that voters show their ID to prove they say who they are, that's somehow racist in Democrats' world. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we are rejecting that notion. Voter ID is universally accepted. If you look at polling across the country, a majority of Americans support voter identification, but these Democrats are so dishonest in Albany that have put these initiatives on the ballot. They want to keep their total control of our elections. It's not strong enough that they have supermajorities in both houses. They want to blow our system to smithereens and pass these initiatives, but not allow for voter identification. We need people to come on out and vote no to that. There's another initiative on the back of the ballot that would strip the Independent Redistricting Commission of its ability to do its job. Now, this was something that a bipartisan group of leaders in Albany put in our state constitution, and it passed by referenda in 2014. This would actually take gerrymandering out of the hands of Democratic supermajorities. This independent redistricting commission is so important. They're in the middle of their work right now. But those in power are so afraid of what they might come forward with and that they might have honest boundaries and not something that fits their political needs, that they've put an amendment in our Constitution this year on the ballot that would gut their ability to finish their work and allow the politicians in power in Albany to gerrymander the lines and pick who represents you for the next 10 years. That also needs you to just say no on the ballot. These are so important. I believe initiatives 1, 3, and 4 on the back of that ballot just go up and down and say no to these dangerous proposals. So I know we have a lot of great elected officials, and Staten Island is obviously the Republican heartbeat of New York City, and it is great to be here with so many friends. But I'm going to turn it back over to Chairman Reinhardt to pass things along, and so we can hear from our other elected officials. Thanks so much.
Thank you again, Chairman, for being here with us today and for starting this Just Say No tour here on Staten Island. Next, I'd like to bring up our candidate for Borough President, Vito Fasella.
Thank you. Really proud and privileged to be joined by not only some wonderful elected officials that represent the people of Staten Island, but also candidates, and particularly say thanks to Nick Langworthy, the chairman of the state party. You know, I think it's very appropriate, as he suggested, that he kicks off the tour here in Staten Island, because Staten Islanders have a tendency to understand which way the world is going. And when it's going in a wrong direction, we have the history of saying no to policies and to people who seek out to destroy this city through high crime or high taxes or more spending or more welfare, or whatever the case may be. We did in 1993 when we led the revolution to elect Rudy Giuliani, and then thereafter, Mike Bloomberg. That's one of the time when this city was under control. The city is currently out of control, and I thank Nick for coming here and recognizing that we're at the same position we were in the early 90s. And if there was a theme to today other than just say no, it should be wake up. Wake up, people, to see what's going on all around us here. And, I'm glad you highlighted and said the words patriotic here and what the flag means. As you can see, we're not shy about how to display it. But it's more than just under this roof and on Senator Lanza's pin. If you drive around this area in particular, you will see block after block of flags hanging from telephone poles or trees. And that's the way that the people around here, in their own little way, say, we love this country. We respect the country. We respect the men and women who sacrifice for this country. And we stand for the flag. And we stand for fair play. And we recognize when somebody's looking to take the game ball and cheat. And this is what these amendments are about. We're coming off a year in which almost half the country feels uncertain about the outcome of the last election. You would think that rather than take a step back and say, you know what, folks, we're all in this together, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, we just want an honest election with an honest outcome, you would think they would do that. Almost as if the evacuation from Afghanistan was a huge success. We see it with our own eyes, and we're told we're wrong. So rather than do the right thing and say, let's work together, we have these stupid amendments where they say we're going to continue to potentially rig the election before the outcome. And the reason I bring that up is these folks here that the people of Staten Island have elected, who go out every day to do their job and do it to the best of their ability, there's a group of people who say, we don't care what they do, because we're going to determine the outcome by rigging the election ahead of time. So, as I say, full circle, I want to thank the chairman for coming down, picking Staten Island in particular. We need to stop what's going on in this city. We need to stop what's going on in this country. Give this country, city, and this community back to the hardworking, patriotic taxpayers that that love this country, love fair play, and make it the greatest country that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Vito. And next, I'd like to bring up fighting for us every day down in Washington, D.C., our Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis.
If you can't win on merit, policy, and debate, you don't change the rules. That is basically what the Democrats have said to the people of New York State by putting these ballot referendums up this year, is that they can't win on merit, they can't win on debate, and they can't win on policy. So they need to change the rules to tilt the scale. We fought very hard in Washington to stop Nancy Pelosi's attempt to bring up just these things: same day voter registration, ballot harvesting, no excused absentee voting. You know, we altered the voting system here in New York to allow for early voting, and that system has worked out well. And that gives people an alternative should they not be able to show up on election day, like me, for example, who will be in Washington on that day. That gives me that option. And then if you're out of town, if you're sick, you can still continue to vote by absentee ballot. But to allow people to walk into a voting polling site and register to vote on site, we know how busy these sites are already, with people coming in and out. The poll workers are working hard to check people in properly. And now someone wants to walk in and register to vote without giving any time for the Board of Elections to actually verify that that person is a citizen, that they live in the district, and that they're eligible to be voting. It's completely inappropriate. How are they going to ensure that a person walking into a polling site is actually eligible to vote? And that's why we have a process in place where currently Board of Elections has enough time to vet that individual and register them to vote for the upcoming elections. With the gerrymandering, New Yorkers overwhelmingly rejected gerrymandering. It was on the ballot a couple of years ago. I think it was 2014, right, Senator? 2014, there was a referendum to go to an independent redistricting. And now we know, because it's a new census, the lines are drawn every 10 years, that we're in that process right now. So what are they trying to do? They want to change the rules. They want to take that process, which the voters said we want it to be independent, drawing those lines for our city, state, and federal elections. They want to take it back and put it in the powers of the corrupt Albany lawmakers, all controlled by the Democrats, to gerrymander these districts once again. So I urge my colleagues, and I urge those who will be voting, to just say no to every single one of these ballot referendums. Again, this is what Nancy Pelosi wants to do to the country. Let's not allow it to happen here in New York. Let's vote no on every single one of these to protect election integrity, to protect independent redistricting, and ensure that we ensure that we have free and fair elections. Thank you.
Our state legislative representatives have been up in Albany fighting all sorts of radical legislation, speaking out against the various legislative proposals and now constitutional amendments that have come before us and come before the voters in November. With that, I'd like to bring up Senator Andrew Lanza.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Reinhardt, Chairman Langworthy, to my colleagues here. First, I want to take a step back and tell you how proud I am to be standing here and to be serving the people of Staten Island with these folks behind me. Listening to Vito Fossella and then Congresswoman Malliotakis. You know, when I first came into politics, Vito Fossella was our congressman. I can't tell you how proud I was to be a resident, a constituent, a friend, and a colleague as he fought for the things he talked about today: American freedom, liberty, and all these years later, to be just as proud of serving with and working with Nicole Malliotakis, who is continuing that same fight at a time when we and our freedom is under assault. And this package of ballot initiatives is the instrument, as Chairman Langworthy indicated. It is the instrument of that assault. Make no mistake, these ballot proposals are nothing more than an attempt by the Democratic Party in the state of New York to increase its stranglehold on the people of New York. Nicole, what is your canine friend's name?
Peanut.
Peanut. If these pass, Peanut, I assure you, could vote in the next election. And no one will know any different. It wouldn't be a bad idea for Peanut to vote, because Peanut's illegal vote would probably be one of the few votes for a Republican. And that is supported by everything we know. You know, a reminder of a story. A friend of mine got a call from somebody down at the Board of Elections who said, "Hey, Jimmy, I can't believe your uncle voted for President Biden. I mean, after all, he loved the Constitution. He loved freedom. He hated socialism. I mean, Biden is the exact opposite of everything your uncle believed. I don't understand what happened." And Jimmy said, "Yeah, listen, I apologize. If my uncle was alive, he would not have voted for Biden." And that's a joke. But it's funny because it resonates with that which we know to be true. You look at all the illegal votes, and there are those on the other side that'll say, "No one cheats." That's a lie, that's disgusting, that's dishonest, and it's a joke. And what we do know is dead people vote all the time. They did in Congresswoman Malliotakis' race. Now, if you were wondering, it's illegal for a dead person to vote. It's impossible for a dead person to vote. It means someone broke the law. Someone committed a felony. Live in the district that vote. And so when Chairman Langworthy and Chairman Reinhardt said that the only way to prevent that from happening is to have integrity in our elections, well, then that's what we need. And that's what the people deserve. You know, Abraham Lincoln described our government, as government of the people, by the people, for the people. The only way you can have government of the people is if you have fair elections. And we saw in the last cycle that elections with these types of gimmicks are not fair. I got news for you folks. If you make anything, let alone something with stakes being as high as an election, if you make anything easy to cheat, people are going to cheat. People are going to cheat. And, you know, easy to vote, hard to cheat. It's the American way. Because if it's easy to cheat, your vote is canceled out. Your solemn right as an American is erased by a fraudulent vote. You know, I love that Chairman Langworthy has called this "Just Say No." I'm old enough to remember someone else who said "Just say no." One of our greatest first ladies, Nancy Reagan, she said "Just say no." It was a different subject. It was "Just say no to drugs." She said "Just say no to drugs" because she knew that drugs hurt people, undermined families, undermined communities, undermined the strength of our country. And Chairman Langworthy, that's exactly what these ballot initiatives do. They undermine, as Vito Fossella said, they undermine the integrity of our elections. They cause people to lose faith in elections, and that's exactly what the Democrats want to do. That's exactly their goal, and we can't let them do it. They want to take independent out of independent commission. They want to draw lines so that only Democrats can win. I'll end with this. I know I talk a lot. That's my reputation. I try to be true to it. As Vito Fossella said, if you're sick and tired of crime raging out of control, just say no. If you're sick and tired of Democrats picking your pocket and increasing taxes at every turn, just say no. If you're sick and tired of New York State Democrats giving free tuition to people who are not citizens, forcing your children, citizens, to be burdened by ever-increasing student loans, just say no. If you want to live free, if you want our democracy to be pure, and if you want integrity in elections, just say no.
We're here in the 62nd Assembly District, the southernmost Assembly District in New York State, and we're honored to be represented by Assemblyman Michael Riley. Assemblyman.
Thank you to my colleagues and friends standing behind me, here in solidarity, talking about just say no. You know, Senator Lanza just said that he's known to be long-winded. Well, I'm the shortest in the delegation, so I'm trying to be the shortest-winded as well. Now, just say no. Why? Brought to you by the people who gave you bail reform. Brought to you by the people who have brought you higher crime, higher taxes, lower quality of life. Do you need more? Do you need a more valid reason to just say no? I don't think so, and I know you don't think so as well. Thank you.
Now the other Michael of our delegation, Assemblyman Michael Tanusis.
Thank you. I might even be more brief than you. The past 6 months has shown what one-party rule has done to our state. There has been corruption at the highest levels. And now, with these 5 ballot referendums, it is another power grab. If you're a Republican or conservative voter, they don't want you to know that there's 5 referendums at the other side of the ballot. They don't want you to turn it over. They want the people that they control to turn over and vote yes. There's a reason why the questions are not easy to understand. They want to confuse you. They just want as many people to vote yes as possible so they can pass it. I call on Republicans, conservatives, independents, Staten Island, and throughout the state. When you go to vote this coming election day, turn over the referendums, read them, and vote no. Thank you very much.
So we know that in the legislature, our senators have a tough battle in the minority, and our assembly members have a tough battle in the minority. But without a doubt, our council members have a real tough battle in the minority in the city council. Leading that fight every day is our councilman, Joe Borelli.
So I too will be brief, because the truth is we do have a lot of great elected officials on Staten Island, and the chairman and I have a meeting with them right after this that we definitely want to get to. That was a joke, guys. No one even picked up on it. No one even picked up on it. Anyway, I'm not concerned about who people are going to vote for on November 2nd and in early voting, because I know that Staten Islanders are frustrated with the one-party rule in this city. They're frustrated with the rising crime. They're frustrated with the decaying quality of life. They're going to vote for myself. They're going to vote for Vito. They're going to vote for David. They're going to vote for Pat. And they're going to vote for Curtis Lewa. I'm not concerned about that. But voter apathy on these referenda, that's the plural of referendum, Mike. Voter apathy on referenda is our enemy, because these 5 initiatives are going to upend the electoral system in New York State. We're the Republicans. We're happy to compete all over the state. We wanted this independent redistricting commission to make honest boundaries. We are the party that's not afraid to fight in a Oswego, a Otsego, a Wego, and every ego from this side of the state to Erie County. The Democrats are the ones who don't want to have honest brokered elections in those places. And moreover, they want to make it easier for their majority members to win re-election in their home communities. Why do they want to do that? Because they want their majority members to act like sheep without having any consequences against them electorally. That's what this is about. That's 100% what will happen if this goes through. So Staten Islanders, when you come out to vote for the Republican ticket this year, make sure you flip it over, say no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no sweet spot there. Just go right down the ballot, 5 no's, call it a day, and thank you very much.
we have two of our candidates for city council. Next up, certainly been on the front lines ensuring voter integrity, our candidate David Carr.
Thank you, Chairman Reinhardt. Thank you, Chairman Langworthy, for kicking off this tour here. You know, a lot of folks think that election fraud is something from another time or something that happens in other communities. I know differently. Election fraud can happen right here in Staten Island. Election fraud has happened here in Staten Island. And I can tell you, it's very difficult to stop it once it's been started. And what we're seeing proposed in these referenda is basically the equivalent of people leaving their cars unlocked as they go back into their homes. You know, we hear more and more that, you know, cars are vandalized and things are stolen because they simply didn't lock their doors. You're just asking to be taken advantage of. There's not always going to be fraud in elections, but if you continue to make it easier for them to do so, you're just asking to have our democracy taken advantage of. And that's why it's so important to say no to same-day voter registration, so important to just say no to no excuse absentee voting. And, you know, this redistricting reform, which Democrats in Albany are spinning as a reform, it's like one of those old Soviet Union Yakov-Smirnov jokes. They're basically saying, you don't choose us, we choose you. They're trying to take away power away from voters and put it in their hands so they can draw districts that they couldn't possibly lose. That's what this is about, plain and simple. So just say no to these ridiculous referenda, and remember to turn that ballot over when you're coming to vote out for all these great candidates this year. Thank you.
I want to just also recognize our candidate for North Shore City Council, Patricia Rondinelli, who has joined us. And
So,
yeah,
I'll
please.
say a few words. It just makes sense to say no to these. So it's really getting the voters aware of what these are, making sure they know the reasons why they should say no. It's extremely important. We can't have people coming in the same day. We don't know who they are and just filling out a form to vote. We really need to have checks and balances on these things. So this totally makes sense. It's bringing common sense back to these things. So again, let everyone know, say no to this, and get it out there to all the constituents here. I'll be doing that on the North Shore. Thank you very much.
So once again, the message is loud and is clear. It is when you flip that ballot over and you see these 5 questions, we're calling on all voters when they go to vote to just vote no. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, so we're talking about all 5, right? We guys are against all 5, the water, the clean water, and the civil court increase
all
also?
five.
All 5?